David Hooper here with another Music Business Radio Behind the Scenes podcast. I was back at WRLT Studios, Music Business Radio HQ today with Emerson Hart. He was my guest. He was the founder, singer, main songwriter for an alternative rock band known as Tonic. For 2 years, they had the most played single on radio. You've heard it. It's called If You Could Only See. He's had some other hits as well. That's the big one that you would know. He's multi-platinum as far as his sales. He had an ASCAP award for the best theme song on television in 2003 for a series called American Dreams. Grammy nominated. He's a solo artist. We were talking about a new album he's got coming out. It's called Beauty in Disrepair. It's on BMG. Will be on BMG. It's coming out January 21st. If you hear the episode, though, we always record those shows evergreen because they go out to different parts of the world at different times. So we probably won't be mentioning the date, but now you know. The Behind the Scenes podcast keeps you informed. This is a really, really, really great show. I mean, this is one of those shows that I love to do because not only has Emerson had a career for 20 years, but he's super, super articulate. It's the kind of thing you would expect from a songwriter, right? He's really great with words, but not only the written word and crafting a song, he's great with the spoken word. He brought in a list of 20 things, and I've got it right now at musicbusinessradio.com. I actually took handwritten notes as we were doing this show. But 20 things for success in the music business. If you're a musician, if you're a singer, songwriter, or somebody like me working in the music business, whether marketing, booking, management, an attorney, you're going to want to look at this list of 20 things. It was just fantastic. He did a great job of explaining them. We'll be releasing this list and his commentary on it as an internet-only exclusive, so make sure you go to musicbusinessradio.com and check out the podcast and subscribe to it so you won't miss it. But we started talking the show with his start. Emerson Start grew up sort of a musical family. His father was a singer, and we talked about him with his career path as a musician. He grew up on the Jersey Shore, and Bruce Springsteen was from his area, kind of the small-town boy made good, so kind of showed him that he could do it. Moved to Los Angeles. We talked about his start with the band Tonic, how he got his record deal, meeting Ahmet Ertegun. If you don't know that name, look it up, the founder of Atlantic Records. We talked about this statement that he made. He said, "We're not about image. We stake our entire career on the strength of our songs." This guy is definitely a songwriter. Talked about how some of these songs that you've heard have come to be recorded, come to be played, come to be where you know what they are. We talked about him getting his record deal, how that happened. We talked about what he thought about success and how he knew he was successful. Kind of a cool story. So he had this song called If You Could Only See. I mentioned it earlier. It was the most played song on radio for 2 years in a row, if you can imagine that. Huge, huge hit. But it took him a while to see the money, 9 months before he saw a dime from it. And we talked about him being in a one-bedroom apartment, eating ramen noodles, and this song is like all over the place. And talked about what it was like for him to have that hit and also get the first check on it where it could change his lifestyle. He could stop eating ramen noodles, get out of the one-bedroom apartment. He was managed by Irving Azoff. If you don't know that name, you should. He manages the Eagles and just about everybody else. A smart, smart music business guy right up there with Ahmet Ertegun. And what it's like to be managed by somebody of that caliber. We talked about record production, bringing in outside people versus doing it yourself, the ups and downs of the music business, the ups and downs of being a musician also, because sometimes you want to write, sometimes you don't. And Emerson had a really great thought, I thought, about writing. He writes every day. He's a morning guy. He gets up and he at least writes something. He doesn't always finish it, but he's going to get up and he's going to spend time writing every day. And when you hear this guy's songs, you're going to be blown away. We've got a new one that we played. It's called Hurricane, and that's off the album that we were discussing, his brand new album on BMG that's coming out January 21st, Beauty in Disrepair. Great song by Emerson Hart. So if you're a fan of Tonic, if you're a fan of Emerson's solo material, you're going to want to check this out. We talked about Nashville versus Los Angeles versus New York because he's worked in all three areas, and that's something that comes up quite a bit. Talked about his writing approach, the pressure of following up on a big hit. When labels finally let you make your own decisions, or do they? Well, we'll talk about that, his day-to-day life, how to break a record. We talked about social media. He's got a lot of great tips. So overall, just a really exciting show. It went long, and we'll be editing that soon to get it down to 54 minutes for broadcast. We've got some extras that we're going to put out on the internet only. So go to Music Business Radio and subscribe to the podcast. But again, a great show from Emerson Hart. And thanks to John at Chrysalis BMG for helping me set this up. It was fantastic. I mean, just it's been great to be doing the show and when guys come through town. And strangely enough, he was with Gary from the Jayhawks, and they're working on a project together. So if you're a Jayhawks fan, I don't know if you know about this. I don't know if it's common knowledge, but they're working on a project together. That's going to be coming soon. We're going to have Emerson Hart along with Gary from the Jayhawks back in soon, and they'll be talking about that project. We've got some good guys, but as I was saying, it's really great that people send us folks to interview. So if you're listening to this somehow and think, hey, I've got a guy that would be great for Music Business Radio, I'm going to let me give you the station phone number. Gary Crane is our producer, and he's at 615-242-5600. Call and leave him a message if you've got somebody like an Emerson Hart that you think we should interview. I think it's fun because so many times when you hear an artist on the radio, they're just talking about the hit song, or they're talking about the new release, or they're talking about the show they're going to do. What we're able to do with this 1 hour long interview format is really get deep, and I think we're archiving the stories that may or may not get told, but we're doing it certainly in the way that we can, where it's not written, it's straight from the horse's mouth, and that's what you'll get when you listen to this episode with Emerson Hart. David Hooper here, Music Business Radio. Appreciate you. Got another great show coming up in a week, and I will be back to talk more about that in a week. Have a great one.